Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Humane Society of Silicon Valley's first ever cat drawing class. My name is Kevin Brinker, and I am the development manager here at Humane Society of Silicon Valley. I am the proud pet parent of 3 dogs, 2 of which are HSSV alums, as well as a cat and a hamster who I also adopted from here. We miss seeing everyone around the shelter in Milpitas and look forward to welcoming you back just as soon as we're able. In the meantime, we're enjoying playing with some fun alternative ways to engage our supporters, bringing you experiences like today's webinar. If you enjoy your time with us and feel inspired to make a donation, Christopher Battles and Heather Bryant are generously matching contributions made up to $2,500. See the upper left-hand corner of your screen while you're drawing for where to donate. We will also post this info in the Q&A box and then email it to you after the event. Now, without further ado, let me introduce our instructor, the owner of the Arsenal in San Jose and proud pet parent herself, Roan Victor.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm happy to be here with everyone and excited to be able to support Humane Society of Silicon Valley. Like Kevin said, my name is Roan Victor, and my husband, Sean Boyles, and I own the Arsenal in Japantown, San Jose. The Arsenal is an art supply store. We have a gallery, and we teach art classes. Sean and I are big animal lovers also. We have 5 cats and 4 chickens. One of our cats, Frankenstein, whom we're gonna draw today, we got him from Humane Society, Silicon Valley in Milpitas. And Lindsay is gonna be drawing with me on camera today. Hi, Lindsay.
Hello, everyone. My name's Lindsay Monroe, and this adorable love of my life is Cheeto. Let's see if he'll do a trick for you. I adopted him at, you want this bump, Cheeto? He's like, not for the camera. There we go. I adopted him at Humane Society Silicon Valley and work in our development department and love cats and love drawing. So I'm very excited to be here today. And I'll be asking questions, hopefully ones that you have as we go along. But if I don't ask a question that you have, you can go ahead and click on the Q&A and ask any questions that you have there. And I'll go ahead and send it back to Kevin.
Awesome. Okay, so one question that we've been asked a couple of times is what size paper you should use. I think any standard size paper is okay, right, Roan? Yeah.
Yes.
You will not use color, just a regular pencil is all you're gonna need. And yes, and to answer a couple of other questions, if anybody else has any questions that come in, type them into the Q&A session and I will go ahead and ask them or answer them as we go. Roan, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, take it away.
I don't know if my voice is kind of getting softer. I tend to kind of like start like loud and then it gets softer. For the paper question, you can use printer paper, notebook paper. I'm using a sketchbook paper, kind of big enough to cover the camera. And you guys, this is my first time doing an online workshop. So please be patient with me. I'm probably super nervous and my hands might be shaking, but okay. So for the first part, or just to give you guys a rundown of what we're going to do. We're gonna do a cat portrait drawing ultimately, but first we're gonna start with forms and silhouettes, part 2. So that's gonna take about 7 minutes. Part 2 is values and shading. And then the last part is drawing Frankenstein. So let's start. And yeah, please feel free to ask any questions while I'm doing this. So for forms, I'm gonna show you guys a picture of our tortie. She has several names, but I call her Lilu. And let's see if I could do this talk and draw at the same time. So since we're doing forms first, I want you guys to, since you're gonna draw Lilu with me, and it looks like it's kind of blurry a little bit, but that's okay. I was gonna ask you anyway to squint your eyes and kind of just look at this simple shape, Lilu's simple shape. So I'm gonna say Lilu's simple shape is, and it doesn't have to be a big drawing for this one because we're gonna fill it in. It's gonna be a silhouette. So I wanna say her shape is kind of like that's her simple shape. But then I wanna do the head. And for a cat, I tend to do like a square instead of like a circle with ears because, can you guys see? Yeah. Because I do the ears this way. And it kind of tends to come out more accurate, the form does. And then now we're gonna do her feet. So at this point, it doesn't have to be super accurate. We're just looking at the simple shapes.
It's nice because this helps you kind of separate what you're looking at versus just trying to figure out what shapes you're looking at.
Yes. Okay, so now that we have Lou's outline, then as I fill it in, as I fill in the silhouette, I'll probably kind of adjust a little bit. Like her cheeks are a little bit chubbier. So Lou, she's a funny girl. I named her Lilu, but Sean calls her Rat because she
That's a little different.
yes. She likes to do she's a very busy cat. So she likes to like get into stuff and like make like these like noises.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Sean calls her Rat. And she only responds to Rat.
Of course.
That's like her name of choice, and it bums me out because I think she's super cute.
And just so everybody knows, so we are going to invite you to go ahead and practice the technique as we're going along. This is just walking through how to sketch. You will get to the sketching part of the cat shortly. So this is a good way to practice just outlines and shading, and then we're going to dive into drawing a cat shortly.
Yeah, so we're doing simple shapes to kind of get you guys warmed up, and this helps a lot in making your drawing more accurate, like the form's more accurate. So we're gonna do a couple of things before we dive into the actual portrait, which hopefully we'll have time for. But Kevin is watching the time and we'll do like 7 minutes of this. She has a big belly. So if you notice, I kind of like made this paw a little bit more accurate. And hopefully you guys at home are drawing with me also. If you have any questions at this point, just let Kevin and Lindsay know. Lou's also our patrol cat. She's like our house patrol. She makes sure that Sean and I feed the neighborhood cats. So we have a lot of kitty visitors, and she'll make sure that the front yard kitty visitors are okay, our backyard cats are okay. I think we're known in our neighborhood as the people that feed the cats because several times already we've come home to cat food on our driveway.
Oh.
Cats on the driveway.
I swear cats know when there's a friendly house in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
We had a lot of stray cats when I was growing up as well.
It looks like Lou's back is a little bit more like. So that's our first silhouette.
Okay, Roan, what question that just came in? Somebody wants to know do they need to pay attention to the proportions as far as like head in relation to the body, or is this more just kind of an outline of how to draw the figure?
That's a very good question. I do tend to pay attention to how big the head is in relation to the body. So when we put the simple shapes, like I'm seeing that her her body is this big and maybe her head is like, what is that? Like a quarter of her body maybe. And a good thing that might help is also sometimes like you can use your pencil to measure like the ratio of head to body. Kevin, do we have time for another silhouette? Computer because
let me check on that. Is there any way, can we turn up the, can you make it just a little bit brighter? We've had a couple comments that it was a little dim. Yeah, and we have about 3 minutes left on silhouettes. So if you want to have everybody practice another one, we have time for that.
Okay, let's see if I can move on. I have a lamp, but when I turn it on, it makes everything darker. Maybe I can just make my pencil marks darker. Put this here.
That looks good. I think yep, looks good right there.
Let's do another loop. So this is, that's Lou's office. So she works at Home Depot. That's her station. Let's move it over here. Okay, that's her workstation, and that's where it's kind of located in the middle of our house. I'm gonna show you guys first how to do. Let's see. I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so let's do the front of the box first, which is just gonna be a rectangle.
We're at about 1 minute.
Let's make that smaller. Okay, and perspective-wise, like as the part of the box gets farther away, it gets smaller. So put this here, and then we'll just connect that. Now Lou, she's in there, maybe more on this side. It's okay. It's, you guys see? So that's her simple shape and her back. And that's all we need to do for that. So this box is like by our living room, next to the hallway. She can see the kitchen from here. So this is her post.
Nice. My cat's been very excited about all the deliveries we've been getting lately. So,
because of the box?
Yeah, all the boxes. He makes sure to inspect everything, so he's very thorough.
How's everyone with filling in and drawing time-wise? So hopefully everyone's keeping up.
When you're filling in boxes like this with perspective, do you try to keep the lines that in the same direction that the perspective is in?
Yes, I do. Because especially if the lines show some texture, if it's not like a completely smooth shading, I like to follow the direction of the box. It just reinforces the shape and the perspective. So I do this way. Looks like our camera kind of like focuses in on. Maybe I'll leave the inside of the box light so we can see Lou in there. So this is one of the silhouettes. And then here's the first one we did. And if you would like to donate, Sean did all the handwriting, the writing in this. My handwriting is the worst.
So the next section we're going to dive into is shading, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to start another piece of paper. And for shading, we don't need the kitty picture. So let's put that aside for now. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about shading. We're going to start with value scale. Let's do 5 boxes. And they don't have to be that big because we're going to be filling it in. We don't have a lot of time. All right, and I like to number these boxes. So the first, I like to start with the darkest. So box number 5, we're going to fill it in with like really pressing down on the, with the pencil on the paper. A lot of pressure, as much pressure as you can put. So 5 will be the darkest we can get our pencil, or pencil mark. And this is something we'll be using for when we do the portrait, because we want to show the values. So values are darks and lights. And once we have that on there, it will give our drawing more volume and realism. Okay, so once I have that, okay, that's the darkest my pencil could get. I usually I skip to like number 1 and you barely touch the paper with my pencil. And so that's the lightest mark I can get with my pencil. And I'm just using a regular pencil. This other one is just a regular pencil, probably an HB. Usually these pencils are just an HB. Like number 2 pencils are HB. So after I do the first and the 5th, I'll do the middle and I just gauge the pressure I put on. So the more pressure you put on the pencil, the darker the marks.
So this would be more like the pressure you put to just write normally.
Yes. So that's your medium value. Okay. And then, so what this does is when I have them kind of laid out like this, then I can have 3 and 5 as a reference as to how dark I'm going to make number 4. So that's about
that it. Thank you.
And just so dark. So hopefully you guys can see the difference. And then between 1 and 3, maybe I'll start out with the lightest, like 1, and then do another once over to make it a bit darker. All right, so this is our value scale. Let me write that down. My writing is bad.
Would you like to take over, Chino? You seem to have a master of this.
And then let's go over a little bit. Kevin, do we have time to go over a little bit of the hatching? Yes. So these marks. So it's called hatching when you're doing like tick marks like this. So these marks are good for when you're drawing furs, especially if like you have like a really fluffy cat, and also like for the edges, you know. So if you have the marks really close to each other, then that gives you a dark value. And then as you spread the lines apart, gives you a lighter value. Spread the lines apart and also maybe not put as much pressure. So this is our value scale, and then this is our hatching. So when I do some hatching, I also tend to do them in shorter strokes rather than kind of longer. But you know, that's up to your style if you want to be more expressive.
Great.
Okay, and to give everybody a second to catch up so they can get all their boxes filled in, reminder again, if you're having a great time and you're inspired to donate, it's right there, secure.hssv.org/donate/webinar. Again, up to $2,500 is being matched today. So if you're having a good time and you feel inspired by us, feel free to go to that address. We'll put it in the Q&A section and you'll get an email with it later, probably tomorrow. You get an email with that link as well.
All right, now let's go to the main event.
We're gonna have to flip the page. No, sorry.
Okay, is everybody ready to draw a cat? I mean, Cheeto apparently is.
Well, I'm done. He's just sitting on the page. It's very lifelike.
Rowan, somebody mentioned it's good when you bring the camera close to the demo to give them a good idea of what they're doing as well. So maybe as we go along, we could zoom in a little bit to give them an idea of what they're doing.
Sounds good. Thank you. That's a great advice. Okay, so this is what we're drawing today. This is Frankenstein. It tends to be darker on the camera, but it's okay. Should be okay. You guys can just follow along. All right. So we're gonna do a portrait of Frankenstein. It's not gonna be that big. We're just gonna try to go over what we did for like the first part and then the second one. So first part, we're gonna look at Frankenstein's simple shape. So Frankenstein has like a chubby square head. So I'm gonna start with a square head. And then his body is probably like this. We can adjust that later. But we're gonna focus on his face. So like a good, let's do the ear first. Should we do this maybe a little bit slower? Or it's okay? Is the pace okay?
Maybe slow down just a little bit so people can catch up.
Okay.
And I got so somebody asked, they said the website address isn't working. Please, I know that we have to make sure that we put secure.hssv.org. The secure has to be part of that. And there is a link in the chat box right now with it as well.
All right. For portraits, for any portrait that I do, especially if the face is looking a certain direction, I like to do some construction lines. So since Frankenstein is looking a little bit to like this way, we're gonna do this line right here.
So that kind of mirrors in a sense, like the front of his face, like across.
Right, like it goes down from his, like where his nose is, like the middle.
Is there a way to make those lines a little bit darker? It's hard to see a little bit on the camera.
Let's do, the red is gonna appear while we're shading, but it'll probably just be like a good reminder of like the steps that we did.
That probably helps.
All right, so this line, and I tend to sketch lightly with construction lines as you guys should, so that when you're starting to shade, it's easier to maybe erase it or not like leave it on there. And then, so this line will be where his eyes would be. Okay, so now that we have this construction line, or these construction lines, I'm going to start with, I usually start with the nose because that's in the center. So it's a little bit lower than his eyes. And cats' noses tend to be like a bubble letter T. Frankenstein's eyes are super big in this photo because Sean is playing with him with like a weed, like a long piece of grass from our backyard. All right, so first we're not going to worry so much about shading. We're just putting in the outlines of the shapes. Okay. And then his eye will be around here. Let's just do a simple shape for that. And when a head is
Instinctually
facing,
draw an actual like cat eye, like almond shape.
yeah, yeah. And when the face is facing a little bit in one direction, where you see more of, that eye would be bigger. And then this, and then his mouth. And he has like a funny mark on his chin. All right, is everyone following along okay? Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm on track.
I mean, it looks like a cat to me, so that's good.
Great. I'm going to lightly put Frankenstein's markings, but we'll shade that in later. A good way to kind of get more accurate in this is I imagine invisible lines, kind of like, okay, Frankenstein's nose, like what, where does that?
Oh, I see. Kind of like you're making your own kind of grid in a
Yeah.
sense.
And then all of a sudden there's a bunch of
I think we need to pause just for a second so people can catch up a little bit. Give them a chance to get caught up with those lines. What does that blue paper say again? There.
You donate. All right. I'm gonna get moving a little bit. Yes. So now that we have some shapes on here, oh, let me bring this up so it's not so blurry and have you guys see it better. All right. So that's what it looks like so far. And it's okay to kind of maybe later on realize that you have to adjust where certain parts are as you shade. I really like this picture of Frankenstein because if you guys can see, this part on this side is darker and this is really light, so it gives them good contrast. Let me see if
Roan, one question that came in, and I was actually curious about this too, is somebody wants to know, can you explain one more time how we're making the drawing look like they're looking to the left?
Yes, yes. So you don't have to draw this part. Usually when I do a portrait and I see that the portrait, maybe the person is looking just like straight at me and the head is not like straight at me and the head is like not looking down or looking up. It's really just, like this intersection, right? If this is the eye, nose, and mouth. But when the person is looking to the left, so it's not, their head is not up or down. This line, the vertical line, is really important in showing which direction they're looking.
So it seems like it kind of helps you with knowing how much a proportion of each side of the face you're using.
Right, right. So you tend to draw more of this side and then like this part is smaller. The lips too, lips are bigger there and then it's like smaller here. If the person, let's do something like really
And
complicated.
again, people don't need to draw this part. This is just kind of give you an idea with how to make the cat or human look to the right or the left.
Right.
You don't, if you want to draw human faces, I'm sure you can, but, or this part, but this is just kind of give you a really good idea with what those cross lines mean.
Right. And something more complicated is they're looking down, right? And sideways. Then it'll be more like this. Ooh. So now let's go back to Frankenstein.
And then Lindsay, how's your drawing coming along?
Really great.
Let's see.
I make people at home feel a little bit better.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Looks like a cat. Yeah.
It's a cat.
Let's put
I mean, my cat's kind of silly looking sometimes, so cat's in essence.
And if anybody missed any parts, we're gonna email you a link to the recording of this. So if you wanna try again or you missed a part, not sure how it went, you'll get a recording of it so you can continue to become the masterpiece drawer of a cat.
Cool. So now we're going to move on to shading. And with shading, even when I'm doing the cat portrait, I like to start with number 5, like the darkest I can get, the pencil. So I'll put Frankenstein's eye. Let's shade Frankenstein's eye really dark. His iris right here.
And it looks like you're leaving a spot for the reflection in the
Yeah.
eye too.
Oh, I forgot this part for Frankenstein.
With 10 minutes left, somebody wants to know if you have any tips on how to draw the mouth and the chin, or are we gonna still get to that?
I think we'll get to it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So not to worry, within the next 10 minutes, we will learn how to draw chins and mouths.
They may have been inspired by seeing my drawing.
Perhaps.
And I like to tell people that are the eyes, the eyelid acts like an awning. So it tends to put kind of a shadow on the eyeball, like kind of halfway through. And that gives it like a lot of like dimension when you do that way. Right, so in the nose, Frankenstein's nose is a little bit shaded on this side, but really bright on this side. And then his mouth. So let's do the chin kind of like a number 3, maybe, if you're looking at your value scale, or if you have it handy. And then this part of his chin has a detail that's darker. What that does is it makes his chin curve a little bit, since it looks like there's a shadow under there and the light is hitting this part. But then his lips are over that chin. So we're gonna put a little bit of shadow from the lips.
Amazing how just like a few shades make it look so much more real.
That's true. Values are so, yeah, that's what values do. They're so good at just giving your drawing volume. So now I'm kind of just going to go through the rest of the value scale, like number 2s and number 4s. And I want to make sure that I tell you guys about the whisper. So maybe Kevin, if there's like maybe 2 minutes left, let me know, and we'll jump into Frankenstein's whiskers.
You got it.
So I can see that maybe I need to adjust this part. And
Yeah, we're at just about 10 minutes right now. Maybe just right around 10 minutes.
Okay, we have a good amount of time.
So much like we were doing with the perspective, are we also drawing the lines to reflect kind of what direction the fur is going in as well?
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Yes, yes, definitely. And also probably the general value of Frankenstein on this side.
Mhm.
My right. Is it you guys is right too when it's my right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Um,
Took me a second, but yes.
like these parts are probably threes, but then he has these areas that are super light. You guys can't see as much, but well, you can just go by with what I'm doing.
So Roanne, we have a couple questions for you. Somebody wants to know when should they erase the construction lines?
Oh, they can erase it as they're shading.
Okay.
Right.
Somebody wants to know, oh, can you show a quick close up on the eye?
Yes.
I feel like it's looking right at me.
Oh. How's
And
that?
then another question, how do you make white fur look 3D?
Okay, so white fur is not, if you look at Frankenstein's fur, the only parts that are actually white are these highlights, right? And then these ones are kind of maybe like a number 2 or a number 1. So you are going to shade that part still. If like on this side, maybe Frankenstein's white fur, right? You'll see that he has a little bit of gray here. But maybe if I want to show that this fur on the edge is white, I'm going to fill in the background. And show that maybe
And then
that,
this is just a regular number 2 pencil, correct?
yes, so regular.
And then just so if a mistake is made, they can just use the eraser to just erase it.
Yes.
Okay,
So
very nice.
here, like it's like used up on this side, but you know, we're gonna use this later for Frankenstein's whisker. So right by his ear, there's some shadows there because it kind of goes over his head a little. But then the inside of his ear is pink. I think I made his ear not big enough. But I'll make that really dark. And then so the edge of Frankenstein's face, I kind of want to make that look a little bit fluffy. So that's just going to be like more hatching. And then this side of Frankenstein's face is darker. So I'm probably going to do like a 4 here. And a good way to show something that's really light is to have it right next to something dark, really dark. And some of his features will be in the shadow. And that's okay because our brains kind of put it together anyway.
Frankenstein is the cat that is in the sketch that was in the invitation, correct?
No, that's Mean Gene.
Oh, that's Mean Gene.
Yeah. He's the same age as Lou, but he's like twice her size.
Got it.
Frankenstein is the one we got from Humane Society in Milpitas, I think in 2012.
We're at about 5 more minutes.
How's everyone kind of doing with drawing along?
We do have a couple of requests to include a picture of Frankenstein in the email when it goes out so they can reference again as they draw. Somebody wants to know, how many cats do you have, Rowan?
I have 5.
And then another question, somebody says, their cat looks like it's frowning. How do you make it look happy? Besides treats, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I've told my students this before, like whenever they do portraits of like animals or cats, like sometimes if you, like a simple line curved up, like really subtle, you know, then that would kind of give it a smile. Just like at the edge of the mouth, like a really simple, subtle curve. Okay, now let's do Frankenstein's shadow because his head is big and it casts the shadow on his chest. And that fur is white fur, but it's in the shadow, so it's going to be like a gray, like maybe a number 3. Okay. I'm just going to fill this in really quickly so that we can talk about the whiskers. And I want to leave a little bit of highlight right here where Frankenstein's head meets his back, and that makes him look really fluffy.
Okay, I know we have about 3 minutes left to do whiskers. Somebody wants to know, how do you take good reference photos of cats? Because theirs are always blurry.
Oh yeah, it's hard. I have like a gray fluffy cat and I can never take good pictures of her. I think the the best ones that we've gotten are either when they're sleeping or laying down. This one, Frankenstein, like Sean had, oh, maybe you guys from Humane Society are probably like really pros at taking pictures of cats. Like you have cat toys that you dangle, Lindsay and Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
My cat's really lazy, so he doesn't play, but I know that when he was younger, he did. That always helped.
Mm-hmm. But like a laser pointer, I can see that when they're looking at the wall, just kind of get in between them.
Oh yeah.
I know that's a conversation. We have some actually fantastic volunteers that take photos at Humane Society that there's times where I'm like, I have no idea how you got all these kittens to look at a camera at the same time.
We're at our 1 minute warning right now. We're at 1 minute.
All right. So now that we have a little bit of Frankenstein's body, you can use the edge of your eraser.
If they have a pencil eraser, they can just use like the tip of it on there.
Yes, you can use the
Great.
tip of it. You can probably like erase it a little bit so you get like a sharper tip.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna use this one. And you can just use that eraser to do whiskers. And the darker the value is behind the whisker, the more you'll see it.
It's really cool.
And I also like to kind of, one really useful eraser that might not be, it's not very common, that is this kneaded eraser. I just want to show you guys this one real quick because you can mold it to like a really sharp point,
Mm-hmm.
and then do the whiskers that way.
Okay, so as we're running out of time, I know we still have a couple of questions left. So if we didn't get to your question, we will try to include it in the email that we're going to send out. Again, I want to go ahead and thank Roan Victor again for spending her Wednesday, it's Wednesday evening with us. Thank you again, Roan, for joining us. For anybody who's interested in information about the Arsenal and maybe signing up for one of our classes, their website is www.thearsenalsj.com. We want to share some of this artwork that you guys did in our next e-newsletter and on social media. So when you get the email from us with the recording, feel free to reply to that email with a picture of your masterpiece, or go ahead, if you want to post it on social media, use the hashtag HSSV draws cats. That's HSSV draws cats. And yours could be featured in our next e-newsletter or on social media. And of course, again, if you had a great time today and you feel inspired to make a donation, that website address again is secure.hssv.org/donate/webinar. It'll be included in the email that you're going to get after today's webinar. Again, all donations up to $2,500 are being matched by Christopher Battles and Heather Bryan. Big shout out to them. So make a donation and you can double the life-saving impact. On behalf of all of us here at Humane Society Silicon Valley, again, thank you, Roan Victor, for joining us and teaching a wonderful class, and to everybody who joined us and being a supporter of HSSV. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.